Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com. Today, we're going to take a quick look at some of these beautiful new 60-foot O-scale passenger cars that are being made by Atlas under their Trainman product line. So for those of you who don't know, when it comes to O-scale trains, Atlas has two product lines. They've got the Master Series line, which is their upper level product line. Those models are very intricately detailed. They're absolutely gorgeous. Most of the Atlas trains that I own are from the Master Series line. But then they've also got the Trainman line. And the purpose of the Trainman line is to give you quality O-scale models. They're still O-scale, but they've got a little less detailing, and therefore they're a little more rugged and also a little more affordable. They're a little easier on the wallet. So these are the 60-foot Trainman passenger cars. They've got 5 different types of cars. Now, they've had several series of these cars over the years, but this is the newer series that has some different road names. And I believe these shipped about a year or so ago, but you can still find them on eBay or from Atlas dealers. So what we're going to do today is take a quick look at each of the 5 types of passenger cars that they've made in this series, and then after that we'll run these around the layout for a minute. So up first we've got one of the coach cars, and this one of course is done up in a B&O paint scheme, and these things are built very well. They've got ABS bodies, they've got die-cast metal trucks and couplers. On the ends, the diaphragms are soft rubber. Now, when you buy these cars, they come with 2 types of diaphragms. The diaphragms that are on the car out of the box are actually a little bit shorter than the one on here. And they put those on there so that the cars will be able to more easily negotiate the tighter curves that are typically associated with many O-scale layouts. However, also packaged in the box are these extended diaphragms that create a much more prototypical look between the cars. So on this one, I've added the extended diaphragms. In fact, I've done that on 4 of the 5 cars you're going to see. However, when you see the Combine car in just a few minutes, that still has the shorter diaphragms. The interiors of these cars are illuminated, and they do have seats on the inside. However, when you buy these cars, they do not come with passengers. As you can see, I've added passengers to my cars. Now, one thing I like about these cars is that on most other passenger cars that I have, I've often noticed that the passengers can sometimes be a little hard to see, especially when the car is dark like it is now. But on these cars, for whatever reason, I think maybe the size of the windows or whatever, the passengers are really easy to see. They're right up there in the window, and it looks really good. And that's with the car dark like it is now. When the lights are on, it looks even better. Some of the exterior details of note on these cars are the really good rivet detailing all around. We've got the steps below the doors. We've got add-on metal grab irons on either side of the doors and on the ends of the cars. As you can see, the roofs are nicely detailed. And if we take a look at the underside of the car, it's got nice detailing there as well. Up next, we've got an RPO car, and just so you know, all 5 cars that I have are in different road names. This is actually an undecorated version of this car. Atlas always provides undecorated versions of almost all of their models, and they do that so that if you want to do a custom paint scheme on your own, you can do so very easily. But actually, I think it looks pretty cool just the way it is. Now, for you kids out there, RPO stands for Railway Post Office. These were basically rolling post offices, and they were used to sort and deliver mail back in the day before air travel was common and before the formation of the interstate highway system. So these cars were very important. They were staffed by specialized postal employees, and they were off limits to passengers. One cool thing about the RPO cars was that they had these hooks on the outside, and these were used to grab mail from small towns where the train didn't need to make a stop. If that small town had some outbound mail, they would put that mail in a sack and they would put it on a pole, and as the train came by, the workers would extend this hook, and that would grab the bag, they could pull it in the car and begin sorting it and getting it to its ultimate destination. Now, RPO cars were almost always run on passenger trains, and they were a big cash cow for the railroads. In fact, oftentimes, the railroads would run passenger lines that would otherwise be unprofitable if not for those RPO revenues. And of course, this would later become a problem because RPO cars did not last forever. They began to be phased out in the 1940s, and by the late 1960s, they were all but gone. So with those RPO revenues dried up, all of a sudden, there were lots of passenger lines that were no longer profitable, and this led to railroads having to merge and go bankrupt and so forth. And so really, the discontinuation of the RPO cars was one of the ingredients that led to the government eventually having to step in and take over passenger service in this country with the formation of Amtrak in the 1970s. Now, construction-wise, this car is pretty much the same as the coach car you've already seen. Of course, there are some differences. You've got the ladders down here on the trucks to get up to the doors. The windows are in different spots and so forth, but the quality is exactly the same. Now, if you look at the inside of this car, you can see that Atlas actually did a pretty good job of putting a RPO inside this car. It's very basic, but with some paint and some details and some postal figures, you could have a very nice-looking RPO. Up next is another undecorated car. This is a combine car, so-called because it combines two different cars into one. This one combines a passenger car and a baggage car, but actually combine cars could combine anything. Some were passenger/RPO cars, others were baggage/smoking lounge, and still others were baggage/barbershop. Our fourth car is a baggage car, which is pretty self-explanatory. This one is done up in a Lackawanna paint scheme. Quality-wise, it's the same as the other cars, just looks a little different. This one has two doors on each side. The doors don't open up, but it looks great nonetheless. Last but not least, we've got the observation car, and of course this one is done up in a Grand Trunk Western paint scheme that looks great. Now, what makes an observation car different from a coach car is that the seat arrangement is a little bit different. It's a little more roomy, a little more lounge-like, and of course there's the big distinguishing feature on an observation car. I'll turn this around so you can see it, and of course that is the observation deck on the back. Pretty sweet. All right, now comes the fun part. I've got these cars behind this MTH C&O Greenbrier, so let's go ahead and move it out. All right, that about wraps it up for this review. As you've seen, these are beautiful passenger cars. They're not the most detailed models ever made, but then again, they're not supposed to be. The whole point of the Trainman line is to give you nicely detailed models at really good prices. And speaking of prices, if you're interested in purchasing these are available in both 3-rail and 2-rail configurations. For the 3-rail passenger cars, they have a retail price right at $105, except for the observation car, which has a retail price of $110. And then for the 2-rail versions, they have a retail price of $110, and then the observation car has a retail price of $115. Now, these are available in a number of different road names. There's the undecorated versions, like you saw earlier. They've also got B&O, Grand Trunk Western, Lackawanna, Monon, and then for the observation cars, they're also available in Milwaukee Road and New York Central. So if you want to pick some of these up, contact your favorite Atlas dealer. For now, that's it. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model or any other O-Gauge trains and to meet other O-Gauge modelers, check out the O-Gauge Railroading Magazine online forum at ogrforum.ogaugerr.com.